I'm Jean Meserve, and thank you for choosing VNN as your news source. There's an old Japanese proverb that says, if you fall down 7 times, then stand up 8. The stories I'm about to tell you are not easy to hear or see. There has been, in the words of the proverb, a lot of falling down. The unthinkable is now the reality for millions of people over thousands of miles. But before I begin, I'd like to offer some hope that we all have a chance to stand again together. That said, as a result of Kenley and the tsunami on the east coast of the United States, in Puerto Rico and on surrounding islands, there is one word that you hear over and over again: devastation. Today, the death toll from Hurricane Kenley continues to rise. Communities that had been isolated because of flooding and road damage have now been reached, and as they have, the tally of the dead has risen to 9,320, and that is from the hurricane alone. When you add deaths caused by the earthquake and tsunami in the southeastern U.S., Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Dominican Republic, and other Caribbean islands, the number of lives lost skyrockets to an almost unfathomable 27,000, with 70,000 people still missing. Along the southeast coast of the U.S., the government is mounting large-scale search and rescue efforts, but it continues to be difficult or impossible to reach some communities because of the scope of the damage to roads, bridges, and tunnels. The North Carolina governor's office confirms that the Outer Banks of his state remain largely isolated. The only way to reach them is by small boat. Heavy flooding and a literal shift of the islands during the tsunami has made it impossible thus far to assess damage or to begin search and rescue. Nearly 8,000 residents chose not to evacuate. We have heard reports of unorganized citizen search and rescue efforts to find the missing. It's a challenge. It can also be extremely dangerous because of damaged buildings and downed power lines. In the Caribbean, Puerto Rico is reeling. Approximately 11,000 people are confirmed dead in San Juan alone. There are at least 15,000 people unaccounted for, assumed trapped in rubble from toppled buildings. There are similar numbers of missing being reported in the U.S. Virgin Islands and Dominican Republic. Puerto Rico is largely cut off. Inspections of the San Juan airport today revealed serious structural damage to every single runway. It's not clear when planes will be able to fly in and out, and that will hamper relief efforts. In addition, huge piles of debris from the tsunami have made ports and harbors impossible for large boats or ships to navigate. In San Juan, as in the Outer Banks, we have reports of local informal search and rescue efforts. Citizens are desperate to try and find and free people trapped in the rubble. They know that time is of the essence, but officials warn that most people are not trained to undertake this kind of dangerous work and could end up casualties themselves. I'm joined by VNN field reporter Jane Hansen in Port Harbor, North Carolina, and Rafael Mendoza joining us via satellite from San Juan. To Jane first. Jane, can you tell us where you are and how did you manage to get there?
Well, Jean, I'm in what's left of a gas station that used to be the last stop before you'd cross the Wright Memorial Bridge over to the Outer Banks. That bridge and all others leading to the Outer Banks are gone. I got here by powerboat on a river. This river used to be Highway 158 here in eastern Carolina. That should say it all.
It certainly does, Jane. And in your journey from Norfolk down to Point Harbor, did you see or hear of efforts to locate the missing?
I can tell you that the area is so vast that my report is limited to a narrow window of time and our sightlines from the trip. But we only came across 2 federally organized search and rescue operations and 1 local police and fire effort during the journey down. The governor of North Carolina today requested search and rescue assistance from any other state able to help, and he's also issued a request for international assistance in this endeavor. We did see several members of each local community, from Hickory, Virginia to Barco and Coinjock in North Carolina. People out on boats, patrolling and looking for survivors house by house in homes that were left standing. Also, we came across a home with a white bedsheet draped from the chimney in Jarvisburg, North Carolina, and brought 3 members of a family on board our boat. We treated them for minor injuries with our first aid kit. And we've contacted the nearest search and rescue task force in Virginia Beach via satellite phone for information on what our next steps should be in assisting this family. Now, they're in no need or any condition to be interviewed at this time, but just based on what I've seen, I'd say that there have to be hundreds, if not thousands, of situations like this in our vicinity.
So, Jane, it sounds like local people are, at least at this point, augmenting the federal search and rescue effort. I know from years of reporting on disasters that this can be really dangerous work, even for trained professionals. Can you provide some firsthand insight on this, Jane?
Well, Jean, it's dangerous work for sure. We nearly tipped the boat over bringing our 3 survivors on board. And the water is not clear, so in trying to reach the house, we scraped submerged objects and debris and nearly got ourselves stranded a few times. I can't imagine how needs in the larger area from Florida on up are going to be addressed in time to save lives. I think that we're going to have to rely on the people and organizations who are in those areas to find ways of safely helping. Maybe there are companies that can share equipment to aid the search efforts. It seems to me that if we're going to have any hope of saving these people, it's critical for those on the ground to come up with innovative and safe ways to assist.
Thank you, Jane. And if you have ideas on how to help search and rescue efforts, please share them with us on our website, VNN.com. In the meantime, best of luck with your journey back to Norfolk, Jane. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and for everyone on board. And let's go live now to Rafael Mendoza in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Rafael, we've been using your cell phone videos and images you've been texting to show people what it looks like in Puerto Rico right now. But can you tell us what's happening there, please?
Thanks, Gene. When you're in a situation like this, everything is different. So it's tough to pick out moments when it's all new. But I'll tell you, I was up in Old San Juan interviewing officials about the airport very late last night, and a glowing light appeared from behind the cliffs and got stronger and stronger until we saw that it was coming from a fishing boat that was just floating by, completely engulfed in flames.
Wow, that sounds surreal.
It was, believe me. It's odd though. I think I've been in shock for the past couple days. And when I saw that fire last night, it reminded me that growing up here on the other side of the island, I was a volunteer fireman, and that's a valuable asset for the search and rescue teams they are establishing. So I signed up. You know, I obviously don't have much spare time here, but I feel like I have to use that time to help out.
Rafael, thanks for sharing the story, and thanks to you and to Jane and her crew for volunteering. All of you, please stay safe there.
Thank you, Gene.
And when we come back from the break, we'll have a live report from Ridge, New York, out on the eastern end of Long Island. There, a woman named Dottie McSherry has been reunited with her toddler grandson, who has been missing since the storm surge hit 6 days ago. Some good news at last. Let's hope there's more, much more, to come.